Greetings. You don't need another strategy to feel clear. You need to slow down, reconnect with your body, and let clarity emerge from within. That's what today's conversation is all about. Joining me today is Saadia Esat. Saadia, welcome.
Thank you so much, Selena. I'm so thrilled to be here.
I
Thank
am
you.
glad you're here too. Thank you. Well, let's just jump right in and talk about what we're going to talk about today with the people. So my first question for you, Sadia, is how do you show up in the world?
Oh, what a great question. I show up in love. I love life. I love people. I love beings. I love all of the things. And so it presents as curiosity because I have lots of questions. I want to know how everything works. And for me, that is a deep expression of love, is to see people and see beings, see the planet, all of the things. So,
Oh my gosh, this
oh.
sounds like something I would say. Oh, I love that. I'm so curious. I love that.
Right.
I love that about you already. We have so much.
Right.
I love that. So you show up in love, deep curiosity. So what have you found out in all of your curiousness thus far?
Oh, oh man. That is such a great question. Everything's connected. I know that's the most cliche thing to say, but everything is connected. It truly is. And the more questions you ask, the more similarities I've found between cultures, between people, between um, just how beings exist. There's a few fundamental things we all need. Um, and ultimately, we're all looking for that liberation in some capacity. And that can mean different things to different people, but having the freedom to do the things that you feel called to do is really at, I think, the core of so many people that I've talked to, so many, um, even when I look at, just the earth in and of itself, it's like the ocean just wants to be free to, like, do its thing, push and pull the tides and, have balance. And that's, and then we interfere with that, but it's okay. This is why I'm curious, because it's like, okay, what are we here for, and what is in the hearts of most of people as well.
I love that. So what did you find out that you're here for and it is in your heart?
Oh, loving communication. So you're going to hear me say love a lot on this
I love
podcast.
a lot too.
Right. And I've heard I'm here for loving communication, and it's not just through the voice. It's a holistic approach to communication, and that includes how our environment, and that can be, our bedroom to the planet, right? And it's like, how are we in loving communion with all of these different elements of ourselves? Um, because, I guess I'll use an example. Like, I like to do gratitude for the food that I eat.
Mm,
And sometimes I can get really like extra with it. I'm like, okay, thank you for this food that's come grown from the farmers. And then it's like, okay, but thank you to the policymakers who enable this food to be transported. Thank you to the truck drivers. Thank you to the people who run the internet so that, people can work on the computers to like have the logistics. And you just find that things grow and grow and grow, right? And so that communication isn't just the words that I say, but that communication extends beyond, this very moment to all of the things that led to this moment, and then all of the things that will like come from that moment as well.
I love that. I love that. And it,
Mhm.
it shows like what you were saying, that how everything's connected.
Yeah, absolutely. And same thing with our bodies, right? Like let that loving communication for me is touch. And it's, that I work one-on-one, hands-on with people, and learning how to speak with love to our bodies is something that we're literally never taught, right? And yet we exist because of the body and
Um,
of that vessel, right? In this world, in this plane, right? So it's like learning how to love and communicate to ourselves is such a fundamental part of our existence. And for me, part of that holistic, loving communication that I came here to serve.
I love that. I love that. There's so many questions going through my mind right now. And of course, I have a list of questions.
Of
Nine times out
course.
of 10, you answer them, and I'm very led by the spirit as we move through the conversation. I am known as the disruptor coach.
Mm.
And so I'm curious, what does your disruptor in you have to disrupt?
Oh, I love that. What am I here to disrupt? Habits. I'm here to disrupt people's habits and our perceptions because we can get really locked in. Like this is, our brains create habits to use less energy and get, automation happening. But then we just get locked into these things and it's like, well, somebody told me this, so that's how it is, or this is how I've seen things, so that's how it is, or how it will be. And I'm here to interrupt that process and provide space for people to explore options.
Hmm. So I'm talking about you. What did you have?
Mhm.
What did
Oh,
you
in my
have to
life?
Did you have to disrupt habits? Like the disrupt her in
Oh,
you? What did you have to disrupt?
oh, okay. I hear your question now. Okay. Oh my goodness. So many things from,
Tell
cultural,
us all about it.
all of things. Oh, I mean, cultural programming, what it means to be a woman, what it means to show up in the world, what is the nature of work? Like all of those things have been truly disrupted in me. Some of it from, health reasons and learning that my cycle is such a fundamental part of my existence and I was working against it. And so I had to disrupt that very linear thinking that every day should be the same and we should work 9 to 5 and those are the hours and this is what it should look like. And learning that actually my body likes to do, more hours on some days, less hours on other days. It likes to do certain work and this different times of the day. Um, I get creative bursts in like the late night. So it's just like learning, that my body actually sets the conditions for success for different tasks that I want to do
Yeah.
naturally. And I can actually tune into that and actually just go with the flow of my inspired energy. So that was one. Another big one I learned to interrupt was that routine and consistency looks the same every day. And you have to have a morning ritual that looks like this every single day to ensure like your habits and consistency. And I could never be bored with that. I'm naturally an integrator. I naturally am curious. So if I'm doing the same thing every day, I will guaranteed be bored. And that's not to say self-care every day isn't important, but it's like what that looks like for me is
Hmm.
different on a daily basis. And so I say this because, a lot of people work with routines that I'm like, that's not, it's not going to work for me. Not like that, at least. So
I love
yeah,
that.
that's a big one.
I love that because there is this dynamic that plays out around routine and maintaining the status quo.
You're
And
right.
that's what Disruptor is all about. I do believe that, especially for women, that we've been uh, conditioned to believe that we have a certain role before we even know who we are, right? That
Mhm.
you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, caregiver, like all of these things. And I love that you figured out your natural rhythm and flow. I call that harmony.
I like that.
Because harmony, like the word balance, like drives me nuts, right? Because balance would have you believing that it's equal and things need to balance, but in your life, you realize if I try to balance work and life, it's difficult for some.
Right.
But if you look at harmony and what's going to bring you harmony, peace, flexibility, those are my three core values that I lean into. I feel like it's going to look a little bit more like you said, non-ritual, like same thing every day. What
Mhm.
what what helped you figure that out? Are there resources or what got you there to kind of understand that?
Um, there's tons of resources for sure. And I I'm going to be honest, I don't use a lot of them, mostly because at the end of the day, it's just you. You know what I mean? And I had to really listen to myself because I think in some of the books, there's a lot of promoting, well, estrogen has this effect on the body, so it's more likely going to be this. And, testosterone does this, so you might experience this
Yeah.
during different parts of your cycle. And then when you go into it from a cultural lens, some people look at like the menstruation period as a time to be deeply connected to spirit and deeply connected to your song and your dance. Others look at it as a place to be your most creative. Other people look at it as the time to pray. So it's like other people look at it as the only time to rest and just to self-nourish. And so it's like once I started to dive into all the different cultures around specifically periods, but cycles as well. And then if you look at it also through the lens of seasons, right? It's like, it's your period is I believe the inner winter. The inner winter is a good time to hibernate, be inward facing, all the things. Um, you can get caught up in what people have said it's supposed to be and what it's meant to look like. Um, and I find that in reality, that's not the case. I know friends who feel it's important to have interviews on their period because that's when they're feeling the most connected and most
Mhm.
spiritual and most aligned. And so they want to be in the spotlight. And then I have other friends who are like, nope, nobody talk to me. This is my time. I'm going to connect with spirit, or I'm going to read books and breathe in incense for the next day. And so it's like, I feel like the best resource is your inner knowing and just asking that whatever your intuition is, whether it's journaling, meditating, talking to the ocean, writing down lists, like just using that. And I would also say probably tracking, because then you have the information. So what I did was I sat with my cycle for 3 months, and every day I just wrote down what my body needed that day in terms of sleep. But I was pretty extra with it. So I did like, what scents do I like? What lotions do I want to wear? What teas do I want to drink? What crystals speak to me? Like, how social do I want to be? How creative, what kind of hours am I working? Because I can find that sometimes of the cycle, I'm like focused, laser focused for like 6 hours straight. And other parts of the cycle, it's like 25-minute bursts throughout the day. And I'm like super focused. And then I got to do
So,
something else. And then, and so it's like, okay, there's different energies, but it was that tracking for, a month to 3 months of seeing the pattern. Because also like over the course of the year, your cycle changes depending on the
mhm.
season and depending on um, your own personal alignment, your hormones, your nutrition, your sleep, stress, all of those things, right? And so getting a bigger picture can also be really helpful too.
I love,
Um,
is there a
yeah.
tool that you use for the tracking? I just found one called Bearable,
Mm,
tracking like my mood, my energy level, my food, like even down to my bowel and bladder movements.
right.
I'm really loving it. Do you just is it pen and paper?
I've used a lot of different tools, to be honest. I used Clue at one point. I made my own moon journal. And then I just took a blank sheet of paper and I just put each phase of the cycle. And then I just did a mind map, for each phase of the cycle. And that was fun and easy for me, because I could see the bigger picture and I wasn't attached to each sort of day. Clue
Okay.
was nice because you can put your how you're expressing that day, for each day, everything from like, bowel movements to the sleep and energy levels.
Hmm.
And they make a point of not selling your data, which I remember, that one of the ads that kept coming up was that was important to that company in particular. So I liked using that. And then I made my own moon journal at one point, and I just like, hopped on Canva and was like, I want to track my dreams. I want to track how my body feels. I want to track how social I am. And then I just, did it that way.
I
So
love
at some
that.
point, maybe I'll publish that, I
I was just
think.
going to say, do you offer that as a product? Because that probably will come up.
Yeah, I feel like, this is coming up and maybe I will, this is the invitation to just publish it, yeah, as well, because that was the thing that helped me. So,
I love
yeah.
that. So tell us more about the work that you do. How do you show up?
Mm.
Who do you serve?
Oh, I love that. Um, I was gonna say the same thing. I show up in love. I mean, I love love. But I I show up in primarily in communion, and so it's coming together either one to one to um find a solution together or create a new habit together, or in community, and that's usually for a deeper connection and um I would say transformation, but it really is more of like a remembering, and it's a remembering how to listen, a remembering how to connect, and a remembering of our purpose and, why are we here? Why are we doing any of the things that we're doing? I serve a lot of women in transition, I would say, between the 35 to 55 range, which is a pretty big range, but I would focus primarily on the transition because I find in transition, this is a calling back to ourselves. And that's when we need those tools of like, oh, yeah, like how do I tap into my inner knowing? What do I actually want? I'm feeling called to this thing, but it's so different from the thing that I work in right now. How do I bridge that gap and why? And then the other group of people I serve are climate entrepreneurs and innovators. And the reason is because I love the earth so much. And this particular community of people are in service to the earth in their day job. But then
Mhm.
I find that there's a disconnect between um, the more like intuitive aspects um, of themselves. And it's like there might be like serving and going hard, but then there's no joy. Or, the only connection they have to the earth is a walk that they do on the weekends, but it's not like alive in them. And I find that it's like, well, what's the point? You're working to serve something that we're not even connected to and don't ultimately care about as an entity. We care about it as the thing that we live on and out of necessity. But if we really feel like the earth is alive and animate, then there's a different way to have a relationship, I feel. And so many indigenous cultures and witches and all the people of the earth who work with the earth in that way feel the same way. So that's why that's the other group of people who like to bridge that gap with me as well.
How did you find this work, or how did this work find you?
Obsessive curiosity. So it's a bit of a story, so I'm gonna just lean into it a little here. And I spontaneously picked my first degree. I don't know what it was. I was just sitting with the book and flipping through it, and this cognitive science, it just stood out. And I was already obsessed with like science, so there was a neuroscience element to it, and I was like, cognitive science, what does that mean? And I looked at the courses that were required to complete this degree, and it was like philosophy, psychology, neuroscience, computer science, anthropology, linguistics, like all the things to understand cognition, right? And I was immediately obsessed. I'm like, I get to do all of these things and I get to learn how to think and how people make decisions and how people come about memory. And it's not the behavioral aspect specifically, but it's the whole process. And that's where it started. I was like obsessed with learning, and how people make decisions primarily was the thing that really stuck in my mind. Because I liked the idea of like high performance um, work, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, like, how do I apply this? And I thought, okay, if I get into education, adult education in particular, I can use these skills rather than just going into research because, I like to work with people. I can kind of dive into making this applicable in the day to day.
Right.
But I found that like as wonderful, wonderful as like education was, it was still thinking and we were still researching and we were still talking. And I just felt like something was missing. At that point, I had started to also lean into a little bit of learning from indigenous cultures and learning about ancient wisdom as well. And I was just like, something is missing. Like, I'm still thinking, I'm still reading, we're still talking about stuff. What is it? And then, of course, the world changed for a little bit there. And I was like, okay, if I need to shift gears, what can I do? And that's when I started diving more deeply into learning from like neo-shamanic practitioners, learning from indigenous people who were sharing their wisdom, from monks to, scientists who are like, okay, like there's other ways that we can learn and the earth is alive and um, the body holds our trauma kind of thing. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And how do we work with that? And that's when I got into the multidimensionality of being a human, which was our body is a big part of our life experience, or, is our life experience almost. And we can include it in the way that we make decisions. And the earth is like fundamental to our existence as well. And we can include her and all the aspects of her in how we make decisions. And then that was it. I was like, okay. So all of the things, like, they're all included. And it led me to this phrase I used to use all the time, which was conscious decision making.
Mm.
And for me, that was my mission. It was like conscious decision making. That's the thing I want to bring to people, and that's what like I feel is important in the world. And the way that that would come about was through life cycle thinking and realizing that we don't exist in a vacuum of our head, and there's a body, there's an environment, there's a person that is part of that decision that we make. And so slowing down enough to understand the cycle of our choice rather than the choice being this finite moment, but it's actually a cycle. Um,
I like that, the cycle of it.
yeah, that was the thing that I guess has led me to this work now, which is, taking all of that knowledge, wisdom, experience, and bringing just like, here's the tool. Try it. It doesn't work for you, great. Doesn't work for you, okay, here's a new tool. Let's try that. And that's how I like to work, is just like, I'll cite where I get the information, but ultimately here's the tool, and you have to, does it work for you or does it not work for you? Because um yeah, that's just what people want, is just the tool, right? The yeah,
Sometimes
so
they want just the tool. What
yeah.
what are your clients saying out there? What is one of your favorite um, clients that you served and why?
Oh, my favorite clients. I love all my clients. They're always so open. Yeah. I feel like my favorite clients are always the climate entrepreneurs because they have the biggest breakthroughs in themselves.
Mhm.
And they're always the ones not looking for it. Whereas like when I work with women in transition, they're looking for the solution in the first place. And they tend to have like an inclination that this is um, true for them, or there's some of the elements already make sense. But when I work with climate entrepreneurs, they are not necessarily in this space of like, self-care, or and I don't even know if self-care is the right word, because I think it's more like hygiene, like taking a shower. But um yeah, they're not in that way. And then they get so deeply surprised by how different they can feel through like a Feldenkrais class. And, that's a body work class.
Mhm.
And they get so deeply surprised. They're like, oh, I didn't even know I could feel this. I didn't even know I could feel joy. I get that one a lot. Or they don't know how easy it is to actually switch your perspective when you connect to your body. Or a lot of them feel really burnt out and really almost nihilistic, because it's like, we know the research and that's that on that kind of thing. But having an animate relationship to the earth, I find brings hope back to them because then they see what they're doing their work for. It's like, oh yeah, okay, like I've connected with this particular plant today, and all of that work that I'm doing every single day is, for this. I mean, if you have kids, usually people already connect that their work to their kids in that way, in the climate space. But I find there's a deepening of the appreciation of themselves because now see, um, they now have a deeper relationship to the earth as well. So.
I love that.
Yeah.
When you mentioned the self-care, I coined it self-love care
Oh, yeah.
because it's like self-love and self-care kind of combined. And I feel a little bit of like kind of that's what's happening, right? When you go inward and you realize all of these things about yourself that you didn't know. It's like that getting to know yourself. Uh,
Mm.
phase, getting to know yourself, becoming yourself, and then kind of being yourself at that point. Is that kind of that's what it feels like it takes place with your clients? Would that be accurate?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I love how you phrased it because there is a like graduation of like, you know, um, who am I in the first place, right? It's without, I like to say, it's without the shoulds and the have tos and the wants,
Yeah,
because, we never really lose our power. We just choose how much we act with it. And it's like, yeah, it's that process of listening. I think that's really what it is. It's that process of, okay, how do I even listen to myself? And sometimes I find because I work with people who are already in acts of in service, to the planet or to other people, that can be really hard because it's like, I don't want to listen to myself. I'm too selfish, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, no, like the more that you deeply listen to yourself, the better you can listen to others, right? And more deeply appreciate the clientele you're serving or the people that you're working with, right? And so it's like, for me, I think there's an interplay between what happens within us and then outside of us. And it's like that back and forth dialogue that I show people how to engage with. Um,
that's good.
yeah, and I feel like, that sometimes takes time. It doesn't always show up in a linear way, right? It's like, okay, I've dialogued with myself, okay, and I'm gonna take it out to the world, and I'm gonna come back and then, have that interplay. And um my support can be to like support with the planting of the seeds and then the coming back. And it's like, okay, how do I deepen the coming in so that when I go back out, I have those exact next steps to do that.
I love that. And that's an individual thing. How do they deepen?
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
Love that. Is there anything that you want the people to know that I have not asked at this point?
Oh, what would I want people to know? I mean, what what do I know, right? Like it's really like, I mean, yes, like I have the skills and all the things. Ultimately, you already know. And I feel like this was the biggest breakthrough that I like to appreciate in my own life, but then also like share with others is that like you already know, it's already in you. And it's just a matter of choosing you. And I feel like, sometimes it comes off as this like a big sweeping thing that we have to do. It's like, I got to choose myself. But actually, like, it's not like that. For me, it was choosing the breakfast that brought me the most joy every day until that became normal. Then it was choosing the clothes that made me feel the most empowered until that became normal. And then choosing, then it was like, oh, I actually love wearing scents. So choosing the essential oils that made me feel
Yes.
like happy, and that's how I grew my muscle of knowing because it was like, oh, I'm just choosing things that are the frequencies or the energies that I want. And it doesn't mean I need to cut off 8 people and I need to like start a new hobby and all the things. You can start exactly where you are. And typically, because, when I'm working with women in transition, they're living in the situations that created that tension in the first place. And
Right.
so it's like you might have kids, you're not going to get up and leave or, um, take a trip around the world, right? Like it's like, okay, you just got to start with where you are and what you have, and you can tune into that muscle just in those like micro moments. Another one that I really love was just like telling my body, thank you for feeding me today. That was like such a basic one, but like so, some people do not have the spaciousness in their day to like have a good meal, or maybe they can't, afford it. That's another conversation. But it's like just being grateful for that act of care. It doesn't
Yeah,
have to be like a new, like I don't need to start a new journal practice to show myself that I love myself. I can just, you know, intentionally have a meal. So I think that those would be the two takeaways that I would want to share.
I love that. So, what would
Mhm.
the little girl in you say about who you are today?
Oh, no one has ever asked me that before. I love that question, but I'm gonna breathe into it for a moment. Hmm. She's proud of me. So that's nice to hear. That's she's proud of me and surprised, joyfully surprised because while this was nothing close to what I thought my life was gonna look like, not even in the slightest bit, she feels that I have followed the essence of what she was about as a child, and that was that curiosity, that joy, that lust for life and adventure. Um, I've somehow found that in my work and found that in how I can serve people, and I feel. I know this is both of me, my child self and me, just being like so united in this. Like, I feel like that was so fundamental to my existence was that, like, both being able to serve and be this, like, deeply adventurous person. And here we are doing the thing. So that's why she's proud of me.
I love that. I love that. Anything else you have to say?
Mm. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love that you have a bell.
Have a bell.
Yeah.
Guess what? It's an apple. Let's see if we can. It's an apple.
Oh, that's so
Golden apple.
cute.
Yeah.
Golden apple. Does that represent something for you? Just, I know, like turns.
Um, in my healing journey, I lean more into holistic practices and lifestyle living, the African lifestyle living, actually. I am a sacred woman. I wear this ring to remember who I am and all that I've overcome.
Mm,
And so we do this thing kind of where we celebrate each other or we make, indigenous noises and things of that nature. And so this is one of my ways. When I saw it, it just it just resonated with me. So
love that.
there it is.
Thank you for sharing. I'm so
Oh, I
like
think
curious, you know.
we could be here all night with the curiosity
I
because
know. I'm just like I have follow-up questions now, but let me.
absolutely it's all to the good. So where can the
Mm.
people find you? How do they get in touch
Oh,
with you?
LinkedIn is my most active social media right now. You can find me on YouTube, or Medium. That is more expressive content, whereas LinkedIn, you can engage with me a little bit more. So, um, Yeah, because YouTube is kind of one-sided in that way, parasocial, right? Just comments on people think. But yeah, I like to connect with people in person. So, if that's something that speaks to somebody and they're like, oh, I'd love to have you at a retreat that I'm doing, that's a way that you can connect with me in person and we can bring some of these multidimensional skills to something a little bit more linear. It's like,
I
yeah, how
love
do we get our bodies into a creative way and then do the creative brainstorming? You know what I mean? That's one of the things I find very cool. So yeah, in person, but otherwise find me online in all of those ways.
and enunciate your name and tell us who you are online.
Saadia Esat. So that's me. You can just search my name. And yeah, no, it's just my name, Saadia Esat. You can just find me through Google. Of course, like I'll be tagged in the podcast comments, so it'll be easy to find me.
Fantastic, fantastic. Let's just see what else is in my trick bag here.
Right. You have some great questions, Lena.
Well, thank you. Well, they're all inspired by you so far. I really didn't look at my interview list of questions. I have one last question. I ask this of all my guests because typically I'm the one asking all the questions, and you are curious. So, do you have any questions for me?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. Mm. Now, which of them?
Well, you're allowed more than one. We can go at least to three.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, first and foremost, because you spoke about your African roots, and I'm curious, what they are and how they've influenced the work that you offer now, or how it shows up in the work that you offer now.
Um, I'm not fully sure what they are. I did not go and do like a DNA test to go all the way back. When I was figuring out who I really am and what I really desired, because so much had happened that it took me away from myself. I didn't know who I was anymore, my desires, my dreams, my hopes, and I was full of life after being in a marriage that narcissism was in the center of it and not the higher power that I believe was initially. And I went inward, right, to figure out, well, how did I get here? Like, what is going on with me that I ended up here? Because it's just like, I feel like life was a series of choices. And what I realized was I needed me, somebody that was showing up for me the way that I would show up for others. And it led me to my first life coach. And when I took on the life coach, I was feeling disconnected and not very feminine. And so the name of the life coaching was Feminine Success. And it's like, oh, this is exactly what I need. And when I had that realization, I realized, wow, coaching is a profession. I had been doing that for more than 30 years
Mhm.
without compensation, given every part of me. And that really is kind of what led me to where I was at that moment, right? Because still
Mm,
giving, putting everyone before me. So I heard the term self-abandonment. I never heard that term. I knew I
right.
had abandonment issues. I knew there was codependency at play and all of these things. I just didn't know that I was at the center of some of it. And so I leaned into, oh, this is what I would do for free. Like this, if everything went away, I would still do this,
Mhm.
right? It's my gift, it's a strength. And I pursued becoming a holistic life coach. And then I realized, well, I still got all these dreams and desires and hopes. Now I want to turn this into a business, right? And I was also pursuing another business that I had already been doing with my ex. And I realized that was the reason that really that I said yes to marrying him because I had got this vision about it. And so I'm realizing, well, other women have mission and vision and dreams that they've gone through,
Mm.
or not because they keep stuffing it down because they're showing up for everybody and everything else going
Yeah.
on. And I was like, I want a framework and a way to be able to help serve them both in life and in business. And then at the center of a lot of that, and what keeps us from that is what's going on in the mind. So
Mm.
mindset. So I took on the Hello Seven certification for business, mind, and money coaching so that I could
Mm.
fuse it all because our life and our life's purpose, our work, true definition of work, they meet. And I wanted to have that meet at that intersection. I feel like I might have gotten lost in the question, but
No.
that's how I'm here.
Yeah. Thank
Um,
you for sharing. I just saw how much strength came out of you as you were speaking about your work. I'm like, wow.
yeah, I don't take it lightly.
Awesome.
I've
Hmm.
learned this is what I would do. If there was nothing else to do in the world, I would be
Yeah.
wanting to serve that woman. And I now know who she is. Miss, I got time for everything except myself,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
That answer the
absolutely.
question?
Yeah, I was just curious, how we come to these moments in our lives, right? Where we have such strength and clarity. And like to your point, I would do this for free. And I have done a lot of free work
Right.
up until this point. And it's like, well, and then people walk away with these transformative, life-changing experiences. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe I can be compensated for it too, right? And yeah, I just appreciate you sharing that. It's
I appreciate you
um
asking. I learn more about
yeah,
myself every time I get asked a question. Uh,
right.
because this it's so life is fluid
Yeah.
and I'm not who I was yesterday. There's so many
Yeah.
lessons that I learned yesterday, really. And I like to believe that I'm better for it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, then on topic of our clarity, what enables your inner knowing, or how do you listen to yourself?
In a number of ways. I love to journal
Mm.
and get my thoughts out so I can be clearer about what I'm saying because a lot goes on in the mind. And so it's very therapeutic to me. I create a number of journals. I've created an abundance and expansion journal. And I'm building a community around that to help women, um, help her. Miss, I got time for everything except myself, make room to expand and receive the abundance so she can have the energy, strength, capacity, and confidence for that. So journaling is intricate to that. I have a side project to help women with what's perceived as syndrome. It is also another journal that we would go through. It's called the Confidence Code, Write Your Own Story journal.
Mm.
So that's coming, y'all. And
Yes.
journaling is a big part of that. Sometimes it's traveling, which is huge. I get to create space in what current life and showing up in my current life looks like versus just being away, taking some downtime, connecting with other people that I love in the world and spending time with them and being fully present. Um, Another way that I do that is I do a lot of voice notes
Mm.
when I'm still and I'm quiet and the thoughts are coming. I like to get them out. I like hearing my own voice and my own power, encouraging myself and whatever that looks like. So I do little audio pep talks. I do
Oh,
affirmations,
yeah.
prayers, calling in the things that I desire. And another way is I do inner tarot or oracle readings, right? To read my energy and see. what it has to say and show up. And I also have a good friend that has her own community of that. And so I belong to that community. So I get readings weekly to see how my energy is showing up externally as well.
Mm,
So I feel like I have
cool.
get both sides of the perspective of that. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you. That's awesome. There's so many nuggets in there. And this is what I love too, is that everybody's process is different and it's like what works for you, right?
absolutely.
Um,
And another one I feel is critical. I have I have a spiritual mother, so I'm part of a spiritual community where we meet once a month and pray. And so the downloads come in that way when we're all kind of in the spiritual plane together. And then I have a master teacher that is a master Reiki healer. And so we get to connect one on one, and I just get to talk out loud and be in the presence of the wisdom that she has that helps me um,
mm,
kind of just have someone else there to listen, without judgment, no judgment,
yeah.
sometimes not saying anything, just getting it out. So that's helpful for me. And there was one more that just I think I shared. I pulled my own tarot cards, but I think that's it. Yeah, because there's just
Yeah.
a number of them. The shower is a big one for me, and taking
Right.
when I really feel like I need to release and just hear my inner voice and the whispers of what I believe is I'll call it God's whispers. The shower and being in water, the downloads and the clarity gets crystal clear.
Mm, yeah. I hear that. Oh,
Mhm.
that's beautiful. And so many cultures talk about women's relationship to water and the earth. And I mean, the planet is 70% water, so it's more like the water. But, it doesn't surprise me that that's a grounding place, for you. I mean, water is also considered like our intuition and our listening, right? And our flow. So yeah, that really aligns in my heart too, right? I love the water. I'll go to the beach and just sit and, offer some gratitude and listen, right?
Absolutely. Just, I have this vision that I have not brought to life yet of me just laying in the ocean and letting it just wash over me, like just wash
Mm,
everything away. And I thought I was going to do it in Tanzania, and I haven't gotten there yet. I thought I was going to do it in Ghana also when I went to Ghana. It
mm,
didn't happen there yet. So I know
yeah.
it's coming because I see that vision for sure. And
Yeah.
absolutely being in nature, just anything that involves trees and birds, I'm there for it.
Yeah. Trees and birds. I love birds too. Yeah, I love that. Oh, thank you for sharing. That's so many good nuggets and ways to experiment if people don't know, what could work for them, right? And sometimes it's things we're already doing and we just haven't acknowledged them, right? It's like, yeah,
Absolutely.
actually, the shower could be a healing. Everybody, showers, um, and was part of, in the context that we live in. And so it's like, yeah, why not turn that into something that is additionally caring for yourself, right?
Absolutely. Spiritual baths is my jam. I can take a bath every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, with some like little herbs, little candles. Yeah.
The whole thing.
I
All
love it.
all the self-love care that I can must
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, actually, that reminds me of something, I guess maybe on or off topic, but I saw somebody had posted this and she was like, she showers with the lights off because then you heighten your senses and you become more attuned to your body and I tried it. It was incredible experience. It's really beautiful. And, there's lots of things we can do in the shower, like cold, hydrotherapy and all the kinds of things. But that was one of the ones that I was like, oh, this is cool. This
I
is
do that.
different.
I absolutely do that.
Yeah.
I bath, shower girl, um,
Mm,
and no lights.
yeah.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Well,
Very sensual. Yeah.
Anything else you want to share with our lovely audience before we go?
Hmm. Thank you. I mean, first and foremost, I'm so grateful to be here. I feel like it's such an honor to meet somebody who has this intentionality behind, what they're doing, and it's a privilege to be asked to be in this space together and, commune and share what we deeply love, but also are in service to, right? And so thank you, and thank you to anyone who chooses to listen because that curiosity is also in you, right? And I would encourage to follow that curiosity. If there are things that you heard that were like, oh, that sounds awesome, or I never thought about it that way, keep playing with that curiosity because that is your inner knowing. When you're not curious, it's not for you. When you are, then keep going. And I feel like that's the core of the work that I do. And also that's the thing that I would want anybody who heard us today to take from this experience is like, how did it feel and where were you curious and just keep learning from that curiosity.
I love that. I love that. Well, you all gonna get all the tea in the description box, everything that she's got going on, where you can find her, all the wonderfulness.
Mm,
So if you
yes.
love, 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 or just like this video, we want you to like it, subscribe to the channel as well as hers. Absolutely. And you know how it goes. Until next time, I want you to take good care of you. We're out.